Yeah, I think we will go ahead and start. So I will keep this webinar or whatever we would like to call it uh, in a very informal and a very sort of engaging way. So I don't want to give this monologue on sermons on the world happenings and issues with corona and everything. So let us start with a question that all of us now think in our minds, whoever cares about this country. The question which is in our mind now is, what now? From here, where do we go? Now, what do we do actually in this situation? Of course, 2019 was a very promising year, I should say, because a lot of voices came out. Uh, Silence was broken. People had organized. We started asking questions to the government on various issues, and that was a very nice thing. But then, with this corona and other things, we just had to sort of soften everything out. Now, in this period, especially after the Delhi riots, I think the government has gone completely, bang on whoever was raising voices. Now, all the student leaders and many of us who were asking questions, they had filed cases on all of them, and they have gone ahead, which was much expected. It is not something which none of us expected. That was the response that we expected would happen, and it happened. So the big question now is, like, where do we go from now? How do we move forward? I had been always saying that, now to fight a regime like this, we need to function both in an intellectual level and also from a ground level. Uh, Both of this process is important. Now, if we don't sort of fight it at an intellectual level, uh, we may not get the victory that we require. We may not be able to save the country that we all have said to save. So it's very important to understand what is happening. That is very important. If we don't understand what is happening, then our response also would be that much weak. So in this context, I would try to give what I think is happening, my understanding, and then to give a small bit of my suggestion on how we should go about in fighting this regime. Right. A lot of words have been used when we describe this regime or the current phenomenon which is happening in the country. A very common word that I keep hearing, and also I have also used it many times, is fascism. So this is a fascist government, and this fascist government has certain characteristics which they will go ahead. So, when we hear this term fascism, then you see the opposite side, pointing out where is fascism in this. It's all nationalism. We are all patriots of this country. So, I feel uh, we are heading there, but right now it is more of a populist attempt. Populism as a word, I would be using in this monologue, in this webinar, many times. It has a lot of meanings. People, I'm a lot of students are here. Doctorates on sociology and political science will also be here. So the understanding of populism varies. But let me put it in a very simple context. Basically, populism means it is a framework. It is a system by which a political question is framed, where people are put against the elites. It is said that for a long time in this country, people have been ignored, and the elites are the people who have been ruling this country, and it is time that the people get their power back. This is the basic difference which is created in populism. Populism says people are against the elites, and I represent the people. It is only my voice which represents the people, and I need to, if I rule, people rule. You know, That is the narrative built inside a populistic approach. We might have seen this in before 2014, 12, 13. Of course, it's very easy for us to say what is happening in India is just communal politics, but I would not simplify it so much. So we'll have to understand more than communal politics. Somewhere around 2012 and 13, this idea of the elites ruling, elite family ruling for a long time was put in front of the people. If it was told, the country was told that this is what is the major issue with this country. By elites, it is not only the academic class or the politicians, it is also the politicians, the academic class, the progressive thinkers, the progressive media. Everything is clubbed under a term of elite, and the people are asked to sort of throw them away and bring back a person who is going to actually represent the people. In fact, in this is a global phenomenon, this is not an Indian phenomenon. So it has happened all over the world, especially in the last 5 years, 5 to 10 years in the Europe. So there are many countries which have gone this way. If we see the language they have used, it is the same language everywhere, that people need to fight the elite. So populism as a very successful formula is brought in various countries to gain power. So to gain power, there are many ways. The you might see, contesting an election or doing a military coup is also a way of gaining power. Now, populism is the current trend all over the world. Uh, it got into so much of limelight when the President Trump came into power, the U.S., irrespective of all his negatives and whatever the predictions were. So now we have to understand how this operates inside India and where it is taking India. So I am sure that in 2013 and 14 there was a very strong populist attempt. You can see very, very, very strong characteristics of a populistic, appeal. Uh, First of all, populism doesn't work by itself. It needs a host theory to latch on. So the host theory varies from different countries. For example, in the US, it is the anti-immigration thing, outsiders versus insiders. Um, in Turkey, it is completely about strong nationalism and ethno-nationalism, and also based with the religion. In India, the agenda was set by the RSS, as everybody knows. There was always this anti-Islamophobic tendency which was driving this Hindutva agenda. So the host theory was Hindutva. The host theory is what RSS propounded. But that host theory alone could not get power. It needed people's support, and that was brought in by a populist leader called Modi. Now, populism has three major categories. Generally, it happens through a populistic leader, or it happens through a populistic party, or a populistic social movement. In India, it is the populistic leader called Modi. So he had positioned himself in a way, in a language, and the language that he used was that he is a common man. He is the person who is the chaiwala. He is the person who is going to represent the mass of this country. So once he started using that language and using the PR that he used, I think a lot of people, a lot of categories of people fell for this entire idea. Now, how does populism actually start and how does it survive? There are many theories which say, why actually populism takes over. There are three major theories. In the first theory, they say, modernism, modern thought process has made, has ignored the identity of a people. In the capitalistic system that we survive in, it is always about the government and the markets. There are no people. People are completely neglected. So, when these people were completely neglected, it was the market and the government which is entirely doing the whole churning. Now there is a lot of people who have lost their identity. These kind of people who lose their identity, the mass as such, when they get a populist leader who gives them an identity through a host theory like Hindutva, they latch onto it. This is one theory of why populism comes in. The second theory is about economic deprivation, which I think most of us will understand. That when a particular section, the huge mass is deprived of the economy. Now, when the market sort of we did reforms in 91, after which the huge amount of masses, the socialistic country, the socialistic India that we knew, took a backseat, and the masses were left alone in their own domain. So basically, when that economic deprivation happens, and when that is pointed out by a mass leader, by a sort of populist leader, that is when populism takes over. And the third is also called a cultural backlash theory. The cultural backlash theory is very simple, that in our generation, when we people who have born from 1970s onwards, they are exposed to modern education. And now modern education, with all the information exchange and everything, we have started accepting many things, including LGBT rights, including the environmentalism and many things. Now there is a huge mass of people who are from the older generations, who are not in sync with these theories. They think even marrying out of caste is something very bad, and they were quite silent because they didn't have a voice to help them talk out. Now when a populist leader comes and brings back the culture of the old culture of India and all the Vedas and Purana, so that gives them a vent for sort of joining him. So in fact, in India, it is the cultural route and the economic route which has come very, very majorly, and that is why that many people started supporting Modi. But that doesn't mean that the populist leader is having a popular mandate. I'm not. I am very clear that he doesn't have a popular mandate. What the Prime Minister has, what BJP has right now, is hardly 25 to 30% of the mandate in this country. Because if you see the calculations of how many percent vote, and out of that how many percent they have got, so finally it boils down to 20-30%. So the majority mandate is not there, but still that is the perception given to the common man. The perception given is that I am your savior, I represent the people, and that is what we should go ahead. Now, uh, what happens after a populist system comes to power? That is very clearly seen in our system. What we are seeing after 2014, the first thing populists do is they don't accept any other opposition. They don't think the opposition has any value. So they don't listen, they don't consult, they don't understand, they don't value opposition in their regime. They think this is the voice of the people and this has to be heard. Every time the prime minister says desh ka suno, desh ka, which means that is what he is implying to the people. It is completely anti-elite, which means it doesn't like any sort of modern understanding. If anybody tries to advise it, it will not accept. So we saw that in many occasions. Even in this corona, they never took advice of anybody, any expert. They thought they knew everything. They just shut everything down within a matter of 4 hours and asked people to run here and there. So they're completely anti-elite. But that is not the major thing. The major enemy for them is pluralism. They don't like pluralism. They don't like people thinking in different ways. Uh, uh, what happens is that they completely cannot accept dissent. Suppose today, if we question, or if we ask for a consultation, they don't like it. That is why they don't like universities and colleges, because that is where people are made to think. And their host theory in this country is Hindutva. Hindutva means it is a political project. Hinduism and Hindutva are different things. Hindutva is a political project, sort of pushed by communal, fanatism. That's all, nothing else. So there is a mix of nationalism and communal fanatism, hyper nationalism. So they always take this nationalistic route to put out dissent. If anybody says anything, they will say you are an anti-national, you are anti-people, you don't like, you are this elite group. You might be seeing this being used by Prime Minister Modi before he came into power in 2014. You all should will remember the time that he walked out of many sort of media. When they post questions, he will not answer, he will just get out. he will always blame the media to be elite. Now if you see, his entire thing has changed. He is not anymore using the term that media is elite, media is people who are, who don't are not in sync with the people. In fact, he has created his own brand of the whole media. So now he has completely used this, turned it 360 degrees on this time. So that is what they do. Once they come into power, what they do is they do this mass clientelism, which means that they will provide everything, they will reward their supporters like anything, and they will destroy the people who they oppose. So that makes an incentive for people to actually support them. There are many TV channels who don't talk about Prime Minister Modi because they know they will come to destroy them. So that sort of mass clientelism will try and help, will create the system where everybody talks good about him. That's all. Now, even corruption, they will say, is good in the name of the people. Like Rafael deal, we know that, there is a lot of things which have happened bad in the deal, but they would still say that's what the people's will is. That's what people need to do. So they will sort of do all these things in the name of the people. So that is what they are all about. Secondly, you know it is the people against the elite. This is the thing you have to understand. So that is why, that is the narrative they put in front of everybody. That is the problem. When you start questioning them, it is very difficult to find the right narrative to question them, because at the end of the day, we also want democratic processes. Every one of us want the are fighting for democracy. So there is a very thin line between populism, saying that people's will, and democracy, which is the rule by the people. Because in democracy there's something called rule of law, there is something called a legal rational system, which is completely not there inside a populist regime. But if you don't, if you it's very difficult to argue if you don't understand this very thin line. So that is why arguing with them is becoming very difficult, because every time you start an argument, they will start with this nationalism, anti people, and stuff like that. So we have to understand that very clearly, why it is very difficult to sort of question them in any sort of argument. So why I'm stressing on all this is, it is very important to understand this. It is a structure where they are putting a narrative uh, 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 between people and the elite. If you take the opposite side, you will be branded as an elite. You will be branded as an liberal person who is not understanding the nation and stuff like that. So if we don't understand this, we will not be able to create our systems to fight. Okay. Now the question is, like, why now? Why has this not happened earlier? No, this has happened earlier also. Populism has been in vogue for some time in India, but at the end of the day, after populism, it has somehow ended in a very very positive way. For example, Indira Gandhi, we all remember the 75 emergency. Before that, in 67, everybody knows that she had a very bad time with her own party. So then she had to go back to the people, saying that go back to the people and start representing the people as such. Slowly, you might all have heard the slogan, India is Indra and Indra is India. These are all very typical populist stands. So once that stand was taken, she also went the same route. But unfortunately, finally, when the emergency happened, and when she came back to for mandate from people, that didn't work out, because people by that time understood populism is not going to take them anywhere. So this is the history that we had. And you know then why now? Why is it happening now? So as I told you, this is a very global phenomenon. It is happening all over the world. It is not only in India. Europe has completely gone. There are hardly any number of countries left in Europe which is not populist now. uh, uh, there are very few countries like Austria and France where we slightly have some hope, but otherwise UK, US, name it, of Turkey, Hungary, all East European countries, everything has become populist. Now, the question now is why now. So I feel globalization had a huge role to play as far as this economic deprivation is concerned. There was a big cultural backlash also because of the entire modernistic move, education and stuff like that. And more importantly, the role of media. The advent of television has created a lot of channels for people to be to do all this. The propaganda is very important. Propaganda is the primary boat on which the on everything sails. So media gave a very good propagandistic platform. Now in the 2000s, after 2000s, when social media took over, social media also played a huge role in creating this entire network. Now we are living in a post factual world. They say post truth world, where truth itself has become very very a victim. People now have to protect truth. Truth has to prove itself first. So that sort of situation has come right now. So all that has aided the propaganda material for people to fall for. uh, of course, social media alone is not important. Social media is a different organism altogether. The mainstream media plays a huge role in this propagation of this populistic views and giving people that identity to push over. So now, having said why this is on a raise now, question is whether it would survive. What would be the effect? Why I am very very. People keep asking me, why did you resign your job? I would. For me, I see this entire direction in which the country is going in a very very is not good, because this populism can will obviously lead to a uh, authoritarian and a totalitarian structure. We might end up in something like a fascist system unless we fight this now. Okay, so it's very important that we fight it at this stage and sort of move forward. That is the reason why I had to come out, because for me personally, I had to be in the fight on the right side. I can't be on the other side. So that is my personal take. So we have to fight this, but we have to fight this intelligently. That is what I'm trying to say. So this populism as such will take us to that area. Finally dissent will be taken out. There all the independent institutions will be compromised, and we will not have any checks and balances by which an authoritarian state will be established. Probably that is what they call the Hindu Rashtra or whatever. But I think we should put all the fight which is required to stop it, but in a very intelligent way. How to do that, I will come to the last section of my speech in this. That is the most important. Now we all have no wrong is happening. Any thinking person will know this hate and this sort of propagating differences between people is not good. We all know that. But how do we fight it? You will see that whenever we try to engage in anything, so many things are told about ourselves also. For example, even with me, that before I resigned, I was a district collector in a district called Mangalore. I had sort of a very decent stint there. When I resigned, before knowing the reason, people were very, very, surprised, and they were very sort of asking, "Why, sir? Why did you do this?" But the moment I told the reason, see, I'm coming out because of the wrong policies of the central government. I'm not in for the anti-democratic processes. The same people started questioning that, if that is the case, are you anti-national? Are you against the nation's development? So this is how people start seeing things in this entire system. So we will find a lot of resistance in actually sort of putting our argument and moving forward. And you will understand that media is with them, the all the independent institutions including the courts, the administration, everything is with them. तो क्वेश्चन है, हम क्या करेंगे, क्या कर सकते हैं, what can we do at this situation? So before going into what can we do, I think we should understand what we should not do. You might find whatever I'm saying is slightly sort of debatable. That's a good thing to debate on these things. uh, I think what we should not do, number one, we have this habit of not engaging with people from the other side. Generally when we see that this fellow is from that kind of thinking, तो we will not engage. क्या फायदा होता है इसको, हम तो मना, we cannot explain to him. That is something I think first of all we should avoid, because we have already lost the fight there. Already I told you this is a perception game. A lot of people have sort of gone to the other side of thinking because of perceptions created by this entire group as such. Now if we don't actually engage with them, and if we don't sort of talk with them, we have lost that battle there only. So don't try to sort of argue, or don't try to sort of win a fight, but you make a point by engaging. Okay, if there is a position where you have to stop, you can stop, but don't disengage, don't keep completely away from this side. That is not going to help at all. That is not going to bring them back, number one. Number two, this is for the political parties. There are many political parties and many groups which think that by following the populist we can also get something. So people slightly start changing their routes. You might have seen that some popular leaders going to Hindu temples and doing puja and all, trying to sort of get what the popular leader does. Let's try to follow it, and try to not to stay away from it. That is not going to help, because you can never catch up with the populist on this. He has already gone far ahead in the race. This race cannot be won by mimicking him in anything. Doing that is not going to help. And the third important thing that I wanted to say was, uh, uh, generally what we do is that we say, अरे यार ये सब बेवकूफ है, ये these fellows are foolish and they don't understand. They give all one characteristic of a populist is they give very simple solution for a complex problem, and in a very high emotional tone, like the example of notebandi. you know uh, Everybody knows it's foolish. How can this, just by banning these notes you are going to take black money away? What is going on? What nonsense is all this? We know that. But if we try to argue that way, please understand this very well. If we try to argue that way, what will happen is that it will play to that narrative of elite versus people. They will simply say, you guys are elite, you guys have no feelings, you guys don't understand the people are this is what we are fighting against. So when you start calling them stupid, or when you start calling them useless, foolish, they don't understand and things like that, that actually plays to their narrative. So you cannot win the people from that side, whoever has gone that side, back to the normal thinking by propounding this kind of argument. So don't try to argue that they are foolish and point blank. That is not going to work, because that is going to work in their side. Then what should we do? There are two things that we should do. Number one, I think, is that we'll have to understand how a social network works. How you know uh, norms and opinions change inside a society. It doesn't work simply, it works through a complex system. So we have to understand the complexity of the system. Secondly, it's very important that we stick to our positives. We fight for the liberal democracy. We talk, we make people understand why it is important to be liberal. We try and talk about the positives of that. We try and make people understand why it is important to be plural, why it is important to have democracy, why it is important to have dissent. There are many ways of doing it. Many a time people will understand that if we talk about their own families, what if something like this happens. There are so many examples in history where a populist have taken the whole country to hell. We can show these things. So immediately people will not agree, of course they will stick to their guns, but when we don't talk bad about them, and when we are giving them the positives of what we are fighting for, what is the constitution is all about, why it is important to understand and listen to somebody else, why it is important to having people with difference in opinion. I think a lot of people understand that. They may not openly, agree, but they will understand. And that is how we have to fight. We cannot fight them by bringing their negatives. We have to fight by showing what are we propounding. I think that is going to work in a way which will change things. Believe me, guys, if you take the history and see, this kind of a populistic upsurge has worked in very homogeneous countries, where the population is of the same kind and stuff like that. But it has not worked for more than 10 years in a plural society. And I don't think there is any other plural country than India. 100 kilometers downside, we speak different language, we are a different culture. So it's not very easy to bind everybody inside one role, and sort of put them across. So we are not going to go down that easily. And I think it's high time that people will revert back. Secondly, these populists, they have to have some drama. They have to keep creating drama and crisis. That is when they will sort of keep the interest alive. See, this the current prime minister had come. It's almost 7 years after he has come. So he is now slowly losing ideas of making it more interesting. That is why the NRC and CA protest and all gave him new vigor for putting up things. So why did they have to create NRC? They wanted to create NRC because uh, they understood their interest on them by the people is going down, because they have not delivered on anything. Even though they talk about the people, they don't represent the people. They are as corrupt as any other government. They're as crony as any other government. So that people are now seeing. So they want to create some new drama to create interest. So they have to keep creating interest, which is not going to stay forever. So I think they have already lost much interest. Now they are bringing in China. They'll keep that thing alive, because they know that by keeping China and the nationalistic question alive, their populism will survive. So otherwise, I don't think in a country like us they can survive for long, provided we operate in a very intelligent level. We just cannot sort of operate like we oppose a dictator. We cannot think about that street revolution. We have to think a very smart revolution. And also we have to take everybody along. We have to move everybody along. Like, for example, now, what is the best way? See, the best way is to show that people are not with them. The best way is to show that. See, why they have put so much of social media, putting their interest in social media. They are putting their interest in social media and pushing things because they want to show the world that people are with them, which is a perception. Hardly there is 2 million to 3 million people, in social media. I don't know how many are using Twitter, and very less in this country. So they want to create that perception that so many people are with them. Now it is our job to create the opposite, show the actual fact. Like, suppose if there is a protest, it is not important that you and me stay there. It is not important that 4 5 of us are staying there. We have to bring people who are who are not trade unionist or activists. We need to bring the common people. So bring some 10 common people with you to the protest and protest in a peaceful way. That is when the populist gets afraid, because he has always told, I am the people, I am the voice of the people. But when he sees that going, that the people are gathering that side, that is when he feels very weak. And that is when 10 more others are going to join this group. So to fight them, number one, we should not stay very aloof. We should not stay keep indifferent. You should not leave them like that. अरे चले ये तो बात करने से क्या होगा, ऐसे नहीं बोलना है. We have to engage. Number two, we should not follow them. We should not try to do whatever they do a little bit here and there to bring people. No, people will not come like that to you. It's impossible. As a political party also, we should not try that logic. Third, I don't think we should be trying to fight them by calling them foolish or useless or absolutely दिमाग नहीं है, ऐसे ऐसा नहीं है. ऐसे करेंगे तो we will play into the narrative of we being elite and they being people. We have to show that we are the people, so that is the reason that we need to bring more people. We need to bring more chaiwalas, we need to bring more rickshawalas, we need to bring everybody and show to this country that people are not with him. If we do that, that is when we will start winning the war. Otherwise we will continuously play to their narrative, and that is why they, whenever uh, the prime minister doesn't answer any media. Why doesn't he answer any media? Because he knows whatever they are going to tell me, whatever they're going to call me, this it is going to play into my narrative, that to the people will understand that these are the elite media. So when we say, so he doesn't have to answer all these things. By not answering, he is actually escaping many things. So we have to bring out the issues of not answering and not targeting the prime minister or his movement. We have to show what we are losing. We have to show how our our life systems have come down, how because of peddling of this hate, how dangerous our society has come. So we need to talk about why plural India is important, why the constitution is important. We have to keep talking like that. That is the only way that we are going to take out. And secondly, we need to be very understanding of how the PR works. So we should not get dragged into their fight and argument. So it is very important that we sit and understand how this populism works, what are the factors which under which populism thrives, and you have to understand how in the future the populism will take us to a very very autocratic and a very dictatorial system, and what to do and what not to do. So that is what, friends, I just wanted to today take up and have some discussion with you. I hope you would have got a small little points here and there. Please organize these debates along among yourself. Please organize and understand this Corona time is a very good time for us to understand things. So that our action in the coming days will be the best required. And let me be very clear: this is not an easy fight. This is a very tough fight. There will be many of us who will have to sort of sacrifice many things, but I think we owe it to the country, because we have been surviving on somebody else's sacrifice for a long time, and I think this is our chance to do something to protect our system and the plural democracy, the wonderful democracy, the diversity that we had. And this is our time to come together and sort of this thing. So the baseline is this: show them people are not with them, show them they are not the voice of the people in whatever way possible. I would conclude my webinar or speech with these remarks. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity.